Hey guys, today I'm going to do a guitar tutorial for the song Fast Car by Luke Combs. It's not actually a Luke Combs song, but he just released it on his new album, and I've been getting a ton of requests from you guys. So I'm gonna watch the video where he played this during, I think this is during like the COVID lockdowns. He played this acoustically in his barn. And then I have listened to the studio recorded version that's on his new album quite a few times. And there's some subtle nuances that I've noticed in that recording that I'll talk about in the video. Let's jump into this. As a caveat, this is my guitar that's in half step down tuning. Almost everything that I've ever seen Luke play is with a guitar that's half step down. So I'm not totally sure that he's playing half step here, but we'll check it here shortly. So Fast Car, Luke Combs. Yeah. So he is half step down. Basically, the only difference, if you have a guitar in standard tuning, instead of capoing on the second fret, you'll just capo on the first fret if you want to play it in the same key that Luke is playing here. If your guitar is already half step down, capo second just like Luke, and it's in the key of G. Now, I can't remember what the original Fast Car key is. I think it's actually pretty close to the key of G. It might be the key of G, G sharp. I'll have to go back and look. But I was one of those people that never thought somebody should cover this song because it's like such a timeless classic song. But listening to the studio version, I think Luke did an amazing job. I'm curious to see though if he does like the nuances on that studio version here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so he's playing this like the original song for the most part. So this is chorus now. So let me break down that verse real quick. He plays that very similar to the actual song by Tracy Chapman, and a little different actually than the studio version. So again, if you're in standard tuning, capo 1, half step down tuning, capo 2. What you have here is like this very iconic picking pattern. And as always, I will have a link to my handmade chord and tab sheet for this song in the video description if you're interested. It'll lay out all the tabs and where the chords go over the lyrics if you want. But basically, you have kind of 4 chords in the verse. You have a C major, you have a G major, you have an E minor, but they play it up here, and then you have a D major, but they play that right here. So those are like your 4 main chords, but what you have is picking in the right hand and then hammering on 2 strings in your left hand. So the first chord that you have in the song is a C major. And what you want to do is you want to pick the 5th, the 2nd, and the 3rd string all together in the right hand and hammer on to the second string of the 1st fret while you do that. And then after you do that, take that finger off and then pick that 2nd string open. So on that C major, it's this, and then G. On the G major, he plays it a little differently, but he's doing the same thing. Basically, it's just, you know, your traditional G chord, and I'm picking in the right hand the 6th string, the 2nd string, and the 3rd string. So I pick those 3 together, and then I'm gonna pick the 2nd and 3rd right after that. So on the G, it sounds like this. So the first 2 chords, the C and the G together, will sound something like this really slow. So those are your first 2 chords, and then this is where you slide up to the E minor and the D major, the intervals that they play up here on the upper part of the neck. So that first one, the E minor, is on the 7th and the 8th fret. I'm using my pointer finger on the 5th string of the 7th fret, and then my ring finger on the 2nd string of the 8th fret. That's just a nice like interval way to play that E minor. And then the D is gonna be very similar, the exact same strings, but you're gonna slide your fingers down. So your pointer finger is gonna go down to the 5th fret, and your ring finger is gonna go down to the 7th fret. So from here to here. That's your E minor and your D major. On the E minor, you just pick the 5th and the 2nd string once. And actually what I do when I do this slide is I play the E minor like this, and then on the D I bring on my pinky finger, and I kind of play it like that, but you can play it like this as well. And then the picking pattern on those chords is you're just gonna pick the 5th and the 2nd string once on the E minor. Then you're gonna go down to that D major, and you're gonna do the same thing that you did on the C and the G, where you pick these strings together. So I'm just picking the 5 and the 2 together. And then right after that, I pick the 2nd and 3rd. So the D sounds like this. So the second half of that with the E minor and the D major sounds like this. So if you put all of that together, it should sound something like this. And that's literally your pattern for the entire verse. Now, I know that might be a little new to some people and kind of weird. The tough thing is just the coordination with the picking in the right hand, and then, you know, getting used to these chord positions. But again, check out my handmade tab sheet if you need to see the tabs and you want to know exactly where things are. The one caveat to this is that in the studio version, I noticed that they don't do the picking. So like on that D, that second part of the picking, they don't actually do that. They kind of just do the single pick on the D and all the other chords. And I think the reason they do that, except the C, I think the reason they do that is because the Luke Combs version is, there's some more production in it. And so it allows like the other instruments to breathe. So the studio version kind of goes like, something like that. So the beginning part, this part is the same, but then they just do single, you know, like those single finger picks on the E minor and the D major. So it's not like a huge change, but it is a small nuance. And then in occasional parts on the E minor, I think what they actually do is they'll go 2 and 5 together, and then go 3, 5 again. So kind of something like that sometimes in the studio version as well. So that's just another way you can play it. It is a very subtle nuance, but I wanted to kind of point that out in case you want to play it like the studio version. But this way here, that's very, very close to how Tracy Chapman plays it in the original song. And that is the entire verse pattern. And then what you have here is now you're into the chorus where he will start to strum these chords.
And I remember when we were driving in your car, speed so fast,
G,
like I was drunk.
E minor, D, C, E minor, D, C, E minor, D, C, D, back into that verse pattern. So like I mentioned, the chorus is almost the same chords. It really is. There's a slight change in the chord progression, but you're just going from C to G to E minor to D for the first half. And then when you go, and I, that part goes from C to E minor. So you kind of skip that G. Feeling that I belong, and I get a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone. Back into that verse. And so that's kind of the chord progression. I guess on my freaking eye. The strum pattern that Luke used there kind of sounded like this. So that's kind of like the first part of the strumming pattern. All I'm doing is I'm going down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up. And then this part, the that part changes. So you go C, E minor to D, and you repeat that twice. So you go feeling that I belong, and feeling I be someone, be someone, be someone. So the kind of different thing about that is when you go you're gonna switch to the E minor on the up strum there. So I go down, down, up, switch to the E minor, get a feeling that I belong, and feeling I be someone, be someone, be someone, and then you do the same thing on that D there, and then back into the verse. So really slow all together, the strumming pattern sounds like this. Something like that. It's not perfect because I'm actually strumming like he does in this, which is just using your fingers. Usually I use a pick, but so that's a little different. But that's, you kind of get the idea of the pattern there. And then honestly, I actually think that's most of the song in terms of like how he plays the verses and the choruses, because the song doesn't change much from that. So let me keep going here and see if there's any other, you know, subtleties that he does, and then show you if there are.
We go cruising, entertain ourselves, still ain't got a job. So I work in the market as a checkout girl. I know things will get better. You'll find work and I'll get promoted, and we'll move out of the shelter, buy a bigger house, live in the suburbs. And I remember
everything
when
is saying there.
Driving in your car, speed so fast I feel like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice right around my shoulder, and I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone.
What's he doing?
Force and car, speed so fast. And I remember when we were driving in your car, speed so fast I feel like I was drunk.
So he's actually doing there kind of a slightly different version, and he may have done this in the first two. I just had it off a little bit, but he's going down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up. And then I noticed on that D, he didn't do it on the up strum, he did it on the down strum. So instead of, he went like that. Very subtle difference, but it is something that's, you know, a slight variation. Other than that though, the verse pattern was the same as the first.
City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice right around my shoulder, and
Oh, we did the intro stuff there. So that thing he did there at the end, that's something that she does in the original song. Basically, you just do that E minor chord, then you hammer on to the, what would that be, the 10th, I think. And then on that D too, you hammer on to the 8th. So it's kind of something like that. He did that at the very end. But yeah, guys, I mean, the choruses and the verses, once you have those initial patterns down, they're played the same way throughout the whole song. The other thing I wanted to mention, when I played this, sometimes if you don't want to strum, one thing I find kind of works really well too, you know, since you're doing like this picking on the verses, is in the choruses, instead of doing like a, kind of like that strum thing, which you can do, it sounds good. What I like to do sometimes is just like kind of pick those chords. So I'll go, and I remember when we were driving in your car, speed so fast, felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice right around my shoulder. I had a feeling that I belong. I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone. So I'm kind of like just doing like this rhythmic thing. That's really hard to teach, but basically I'm going. You know, kind of something like that. So I'm picking, slapping, and then I'm going, you know, 5, 5, 3, 2 there, and then just kind of repeating that on each chord. So I'm kind of just like freelancing there, but I find if you know how to do like that rhythmic right hand stuff, then it just flows a little better with the finger picking that takes place in the verse. So yeah, guys, to kind of quickly recap how to play Fast Car like Luke Combs. Capo 2nd fret, half step down tuning. You had a C chord, a G chord, this interval E minor chord, and this interval D chord. Picking pattern went something like this. Which is just like the original song. If you want to play it like the Luke Combs studio version, it sounds kind of something like this. Or the difference being that they let those 2 chords ring out and they don't really do as much picking in the right hand on those chords. And then in the choruses, your chord progression was C to G to E minor to D. And the strum pattern was down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up. And then that second part of the chorus, you go. That feeling be someone, be someone, be someone. And then you continue into the verse. And that's pretty much how you play the entire song. Again, I will have my handmade chord and tab sheet on my Patreon if you guys are interested. Let me know if you have any questions and I'll do my best to answer them. And also let me know what other songs you want me to teach on guitar. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.